Hello, my name is Elias Mokole and welcome to Developing Your Authentic Voice. This presentation is designed to show ways that I have used finding and developing one's authentic voice to empower each individual. The workshop could have a few objectives, and here are some ideas. Understanding each person's individual voice and how they might choose to express themselves using their individual vocalism. Breathing is a large component in this workshop, and helping to understand how we can access the breathing mechanism, which we use without thinking, how we can be more deliberate for a variety of uses beyond just singing. It can be used to help minimize stress and anxiety and work against what we call high chest breathing. Hopefully in this workshop, there'll be techniques and tools that you might access throughout your work day to help you be more effective in communication. The power of words is very important, and using both expressive consonants and vowels to convey your message deliberately, and to know that there are ways to alter that if you choose to, depending upon your intention. Now I'd like to give a little bit of an overview. I have been a professional singer for over 25 years, and these pictures demonstrate places that I've been and a few roles that I've done. I have also been and am still a dedicated teacher. I love teaching, and it is something that I'm as passionate about as performing. One of the ideas that I convey in this workshop is to show people tools, but not necessarily tell them how they must use them all the time. So I will give a set of tools and then I will let the participants play with them and decide how to modify them for their own specific needs. And I think this quote by Albert Einstein illustrates that idea. At least it does for me. I use a lot of resource materials, and one of the books that I've read called The 46 Rules of Genius by Marty Neumeier, he talks a lot about developing creative genius. And I highly recommend looking at the book. It's quite short, and it is very, very clear and concise. I have created an introductory exercise, particularly for participants in a workshop that come from a variety of backgrounds. In this exercise, I ask them to choose about 10, 15 seconds of either lyrics or something that they would like to recite at the beginning of the workshop, and they get a chance to sing or speak that. Then throughout the workshop, they will work on various tools and techniques, and hopefully they'll get a chance to improve upon their confidence in reciting whatever it is they chose that meant something to them. I believe it's very important to choose something that is intrinsic. Also in this workshop, I give an overview about how we produce sound as instruments. As a musical instrument, which you see in the slide, I typically use the orchestra because it's divided into 4 distinct sections, but other instruments from other types of musical groups could work as well. The idea is to think about, again, how we make the sound and how we vibrate our unique voice instrument. And sometimes I think it's helpful to look at how other instruments create sound and then see the similarities between them. In this particular case, we have the woodwinds, percussion, strings, and brass. And then I asked the participants to think about which instruments relate to the voice instrument. And it's interesting to hear their answers. It's also interesting in a varied group to look at what professions might benefit from improving their skills on speaking and or singing. Obviously, there's singing and teaching, and there are other professions, however, that many participants have expressed are beneficial. And we talk about those, and I get their ideas. A very, very important component is breathing, or the breath process, diaphragmatic breathing, as it's called, or belly breathing. So we work through this, and visually they get a chance to look and see, and then we talk through the process. The interesting thing about breath process is we know how to do it. It's just noticing what we do. And as I've learned that all types of learners might be kinesthetic, oral, or visual, it's interesting to give a diagram to show how this process works. Then I generally employ a breathing exercise called the Farinelli breathing exercise. He's been around for a number of years, and he has a very interesting story that we could all learn from. I explain the exercise, which has 3 components that you see here, and then I give the students and participants a chance to pair up and practice this exercise, and then return to the large group to talk to us about what they discovered. I mentioned in the objectives the importance of words, and we talk about vowels and consonants, but more specifically vowels, because vowels are primarily how the sound is delivered in speech communication. And there is a phonetic alphabet called the International Phonetic Alphabet that is very useful to give visual cues about these vowels that we know how to pronounce without thinking. And so we'll look at the primary vowels. There are a couple of terms that are helpful. These terms come from what's called voice teaching methodology, voice pedagogy, but often they are words that we've heard in other uses. An example is the word range. Tessitura is another word that would have meaning when it's explained. And these are very useful to think about both in singing and speaking. That pertains to the registers of our instrument in both speaking and singing. There's a low register, a middle register, and a higher register. And we talk about those, and then we figure out what might be interesting to work on. So basically, that's the general structure of a presentation. It can be tailored in a number of ways depending upon the participant's specific outcomes that are desired. I very much believe in backward design, so I like to look at first what the takeaway should be from an objective of a workshop, and then design the workshop based on those takeaways. Thank you so much for your time, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.